Some of these guys earned £200,000 a week, played Champions League football, wore the biggest jerseys in the world, and right now, some of them are homeless, some are gardening at the same clubs they used to play for, and one of them couldn't even afford a Sky Sports subscription to watch his former team play. This is the list nobody wants to talk about. African footballers who made millions and lost everything. Let's get into it. Number 1. Emmanuel Eboue. Emmanuel Eboue played 7 years for Arsenal, reached the Champions League final in 2006, and then moved to Galatasaray in Turkey, where he earned over £1.5 million a year. At the peak of his career, Eboue was worth an estimated £20 million. He handed every single one of his finances over to his wife, Aurélie Bertrand, every bank document, every property deed, every account. Emmanuel signed whatever she put in front of him without reading it, because she was his wife and he trusted her completely. When their marriage collapsed in 2017, Eboue discovered she had quietly moved nearly every asset into her own name, and the court ruled in her favor. He lost his houses, his cars, his accounts, all of it. Emmanuel was left sleeping on a friend's living room floor, hiding from bailiffs, and visiting his local pub just to watch Arsenal because he couldn't afford Sky Sports. He later admitted he had thought about ending his life during that period. Eboue eventually moved back to Ivory Coast, remarried his childhood sweetheart in 2024, and now runs a football academy in Abidjan. But the £20 million is gone, and it didn't go to drugs or gambling, it went to the one person he was supposed to trust completely. Number 2. Asamoah Gyan. Asamoah Gyan is Ghana's all-time top scorer, a Premier League striker who played for Sunderland, and the guy who missed that penalty against Uruguay at the 2010 World Cup that would have sent Ghana to the semi-finals. Gyan also earned £227,000 per week at Shanghai SIPG in China. That's over £11 million a year. Then in 2018, during a divorce hearing in court, Asamoah claimed he had only £600 in his bank account and could no longer afford business class tickets for his own children. He had also started Baby Jet Airlines in 2017, a fully approved airline company that never actually launched a single flight before it shut down in 2019. Gyan later denied the reports, saying he was earning well in Turkey, but the damage to his reputation was already done, and the fact that Africa's highest paid footballer was sitting in a courtroom claiming he had less than £1,000 raised questions that nobody got straight answers to. Number 3. Eric Djemba-Djemba. Eric Djemba-Djemba was signed by Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United in 2003 as a replacement for Roy Keane, and he played alongside Cristiano Ronaldo and Ryan Giggs. That's the kind of career that should set you up for life. But after leaving Manchester United, Djemba-Djemba made a disastrous real estate investment in Qatar in 2008 that wiped out a huge chunk of his savings. On top of that, a dispute with his agent went public, and it came out that Eric owed €600,000 in back taxes to UK authorities. By 2016, he was officially declared bankrupt, and his divorce from his wife Rachel only made things worse. Djemba-Djemba ended up playing in the Indian Super League and later in the French 5th Division just to keep the lights on, which is a brutal fall for someone who once trained at Old Trafford every morning. Number 4. Celestine Babayaro. Celestine Babayaro was part of Nigeria's legendary 1996 Olympic gold medal team and spent most of his career as a left-back at Chelsea, one of the biggest clubs in the world. Babayaro earned £25,000 a week at his peak and played for Newcastle afterward, before a brief spell in MLS. Then in January 2011, just a year after retiring, Celestine was declared bankrupt at a court in Croydon. The exact reasons were never made fully public, but neighbours reported that Babayaro had stopped taking care of his £475,000 property in Middlesex entirely tar. Nobody knew where he was or what had happened to his money. No gambling scandal, no divorce headline, just silence, and then bankruptcy. Number 5. Philemon Masinga. Philemon Masinga scored the goal that sent South Africa to their first ever World Cup in 1998, one of the most iconic moments in African football history. Off the pitch, Masinga built serious wealth at his peak. He owned petrol stations, high-end boutiques, nightclubs, luxury cars, and a multi-million rand mansion. But every single one of those business ventures failed after Philemon retired, and by 2011, he was declared bankrupt. Masinga was forced to move into the backroom of his late mother's house in Kuma Township in Klerksdorp. The man who put South Africa on the global football map ended up living in a single room with nothing to show for the fortune he had built. Number 6. Jabu Mahlangu. Jabu Mahlangu was one of South Africa's most talented attacking midfielders, and he played for some of the biggest clubs in the country during his career. But Mahlangu has openly admitted that he never received any financial education during or after his playing days, and that the money came too fast for someone his age to handle. The parties, the lifestyle, the spending it all caught up with Jabu, and after retirement, he found himself broke. Mahlangu has since spoken publicly about the crisis facing South African football, saying that roughly 70% of retired players in the country are living in extreme poverty, not struggling, not tight on cash, but genuinely impoverished. That number is staggering, and Jabu's own story is proof that talent and fame don't protect you from it. Number 7. Ifeanyi Udeze. Ifeanyi Udeze was a solid Premier League defender who played for West Brom and represented Nigeria internationally. Udeze was a reliable professional footballer who earned good money at club level. But after retiring and going without a club since 2008, Ifeanyi's financial situation deteriorated badly. Reports emerged that he couldn't pay his rent and was eventually evicted from his home. No flashy lifestyle scandals, no gambling addiction headlines, just a footballer who stopped playing, stopped earning, and had no plan for what came next, and the money ran out faster than Udeze expected. Number 8. Willem Vries. Willem Vries made 306 appearances for Bloemfontein Celtic in South Africa and was a loyal, dependable midfielder throughout his career. Vries wasn't a superstar, he wasn't earning Premier League wages, but he was a professional footballer who gave years of his life to his club. After retirement, Willem couldn't find stable work, so he took a job as a gardener at the very same club he had played for. Health problems eventually forced Vries out of even that role, and the club recommended he apply for a government social grant through SASSA. He now lives in poverty and reportedly cannot afford a basic television set. It's one of the saddest stories on this list because it's not about reckless spending or bad decisions. It's about a footballer who simply had nothing waiting for him when his career ended. Number 9. Steve Lekoea. Steve Lekoea was a household name in South African football during the early 2000s and was close friends with Jabu Mahlangu. Like Jabu, Lekoea retired young and fell straight into an extravagant lifestyle. The parties, the alcohol, the spending that felt unlimited while the money was coming in. It wasn't, and once the paycheck stopped, everything collapsed. Steve has since admitted publicly that he went bankrupt after breaking ties with his clubs and retiring at such a young age, and his story mirrors what's happening to hundreds of South African footballers who never learned how to manage the money they earned. Number 10. Etienne Eto'o. Eto'o was once dubbed the African Maradona and was a regular fixture in the Nigerian Super Eagles squad during his prime. He had genuine talent, the kind that should have translated into serious wealth over a long career. But his career was riddled with controversies and issues with discipline that cut it short before he could earn the kind of money that would have secured his future. After retirement, he struggled to find any steady income, and reports suggest he has been living modestly ever since, unable to translate the fame he once had into anything financially stable. Number 11. David M. Kannemeyer. David M. Kannemeyer played as a defender for Maritzburg United and Pretoria University in South Africa, and by all accounts, he was a talented, flamboyant player who could shut down dangerous strikers. But after M. Kannemeyer's career ended, everything fell apart. By the time his story made the news, David was homeless, begging for money on the streets. A former friend told reporters that arrangements were being made for his mother to come collect him because living on the streets was no longer sustainable. It's the kind of story that should never happen to a professional sportsman, and yet it does, more often than anyone wants to admit. Number 12. Ifeanyi Udeze. Ifeanyi Udeze played for Mamelodi Sundowns, one of South Africa's biggest clubs, and earned an estimated 330,000 rand a month at his peak. That's serious money in the South African context. But despite that income, Udeze was declared bankrupt in 2014 after a series of poor financial decisions that drained his accounts faster than he could replenish them. Ifeanyi's story became a talking point in South African football circles because it showed that even players at the biggest clubs in the country weren't immune to financial collapse once their careers ended. Number 13. Wilson Oruma. Wilson Oruma was a talented Nigerian midfielder who played in Europe and earned solid wages throughout his career. But after retirement, Oruma's finances deteriorated quietly, and by the time anyone noticed, the damage was already done. Wilson's story is another example of how African footballers can slip through the cracks after their playing days end, with no safety net, no financial structure, and no one checking in until it's already too late to turn things around. As glamorous as football looks from the outside, it's a short career, and when it's over, the money stops, and if there's no plan, no financial education, no structure in place, it disappears faster than most people can believe. So which of these guys do you think could have had a different story? Let me know in